Hello, my comments were blocked from Judge Napolitano's website. There are proofs that intelligence community had roles with this, if not him. Because, for example, in his last speech, now Judge Napolitano, he's a good man. I see him as a good man. But good people in the worst judges, they have collusions with the difference of that used even worse. But no one pays attention there because no one else pays attention to why and how we have black peoples, white eyes constantly. We have the same color eyes. There are exceptions. Some of us have the same color eyes with exceptions too. We have hyper-evidential as means to discern fake things being put in subjects, being put into databases, employments of types of experts and of types of styles of logic as natures that can't defend themselves without being relied upon, without reliance upon factual aspects in nature. For example, with the convictions of Judge Napolitano, also with common delusions that are regarding American history and slavery. When Judge Napolitano says, "Oh, slavery was coming to an end," our founders left us to demonstrate they did not have free speech. That's why they told us to get the Constitution. They had to hide their roles, counter-extorting the other founders. They had to force from within more than 13 colonies tactical positions and names, forced to break the syntax, to entertain syntactical, different than the laws forced, individually grouped in together. The only reason they were psychopaths because they themselves didn't understand their own histories. Each modern history and semi-ancient histories, they had to become a name that were still already had the entrenched, breaching method entrenched, which uses collusions with itself with uses of the names of the sciences. The identity of the sciences, the name, the uses of the name of the identity the sciences share. For example, then, the identity that is space/existence, distinctly, non-distinctly, hyper-simultaneously, so we can see it. It is the hyper-invisible, but still discernible. Why there are 7 names for the verb? Why and how? The past participle and the present participle are natures that are how the present participle is a nature that is that a gerund is constantly in appreciation of. It has, which is another name for a verb, a gerund. Also, a past participle can variably be a gerund. For example, and that in both the gerund, both the past participle and a present participle are verbals, which is another name for a verb. A predicate is another name for a verb. And see, this is appreciation of identities. The identity of your left hand and your right hand. The identity of your lung or your heart. They share a semi-nature relationship to your complete identity. And that's while and how. Your complete identity is a semi-nature relationship to this identity that is, which revealed to other species bodies with 2 eyes, for example. We didn't reveal that. We didn't reveal how and why we have 2 eyes. There is a hyper simultaneous that comes with the distinct natures of simultaneous that are individual finite, 1, that are grouped active, 2, and that are progressive volume, progressive defined is that extent of the future that we don't know yet, but we know, that we know, even though it has not come yet. We know that what is positive about the seasons that is to come, what is negative about the seasons that is to come, but now it is known through systems other and simultaneously the breaching method's identity of uses of that self-value. Because the breaching method, its identity of relationship to itself, and the only increasing value of that simultaneously equal to itself and as itself, is what nature demonstrates to us. That is what discernment looks like. We are being shown a breaching method that is increasingly value /S. It is the cause of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. It is a human fact-keeping nature, quality of fact-keeping nature enslavement method, torture, extortion / slavery method. Had we allowed free speech of the quality it was supposed to be, we would have had this discerned. Roles with criminally foreign influenced readings of statutes give the benefit of the doubt at the last second to the intelligence community, which means the three branches of government, executive, judicial, and the political branch of government, Congress. Individually grouped and together. This breaching method used them remotely. That's one of the reasons slavery was entrenched. This breaching method used remotely self-valued and defenses of descriptions of the value of all values, but like the value of independence and the value of unity. See, the species body of individual bodies is what unity is about. And it is about more and more finite than that too. And grouped relativity to that too, but as itself. As it answers our questions. And how it answers our questions. And how this is denied so long. Boxing a straw. So this is also where and how I have a Saudi friend. And people that went to each campus I went to attached me more and more to confessions tied to that. They put them the collusions with them, who had also been by others, because they're attaching everyone to fake ties to each other, fake natures of ties to each other. There is a campus called Central Connecticut State University in Connecticut. It's associated with UConn. You guys might know UConn because all the campuses. It is nothing personal against the campuses. For example, this is also giving away my intellectual property rights. In other words, we use sense and sensibility, use John Austin's phrase. In the human makeup, the way nature does. And that has not been afforded, though, however, because of the applications by names treatments. And because of the descriptions of defenses of the law that involved assignments of guilt or non-guilt as Boolean logic, or with Boolean logic, leaving out and making up exceptions while tactically delusions wrought. Because you had other communicated for our founders than they communicated to communicate for themselves, which is also about the difference between the founders who had to counter or extort the other founders, not as Native Americans. Those are our founders too. But the founders who were not Native Americans, the ones with George Washington and James Madison's plan to counter extort at 13 colonies, at 13 places within what would become the first 13 states, to force check her for a temporary amount of time. People to break the laws syntactically back then. The laws were slavery laws. They were torture, extortion, and slavery. And using descriptions of what is positive and or of what is negative. Tactical ulterior from what is true. As collusions with all uses of all of the truth without use for lies. Used as criminal insidiousness natures of positive treatments. Effectively to keep only criminal insidiousness natures of styles of syntax, of identities, speaking or heard. So there are a whole bunch of police who share who share the name McGee, and then they confess they only have one name McGee. They're involved on Rocky Hill campuses with people named Demorrow and people named other names with the name McGee. But that's not the one that they did. Weathersfield Police said they have one McGee. They have different falsified police reports. Also, the police forms and with other departments, they have collusions with the courts too, and their family members in overt criminal enterprise, private ones at the same time, insidiousness A through Z. This is not hard to get through just because you deny it. It is. Because you've only heard guilt assigned wrong and being made up increasingly. They want to pretend with passions and emotions. They want to speak about things serious like Sandy Hook. And they want us to debate that. They're tactically delusions rot with the description. Nature shows us that emotions serve a function to clarify, not to make things not clear. It just serves a function to show us is someone leaving out the slightest finite detail, or are they leaving out simultaneous values? Either leaving out group relativity, used, for example, tactical terror, how from nature communicates this way. It communicates species volume, individual body of species body, of a species body of individual bodies, grouped difference /S. Nature shows us other species bodies. We are conscious of each other, even the insects. See, but we still have the courts pretending to have to assign guilt and preventing people from making the proper fact treatments because they've been roles, collusions. Also with their delusions, you know, people for different motivations. There was that all when they speak for wealth or value, they're still tactically delusions rot. Judges A through Z. They came through 6 schools. Before there were narratives about the constitutional convention and them needing to close windows and this one not to be heard, the breaching method was already entrenched possession over the quality /IES as criminal insidiousness nature /S over people A through Z at all locations everywhere the species body is. That room was not isolated. To rep nature's a certain type of, you guys came through 6 campuses that blamed other things, others themselves, for the causes of the fact, treatment, nature, slavery of everyone sickly distinctly, but sickly non-distinctly too. That's why it's important to discern how the sickly, the non-distinctly was set up to keep how sickly non-distinctly from being discerned. There are proofs that in semi-ancient times, a human fact treatment nature breaching method was engineered because a transnational criminal enterprise that was juxtaposed with government ones and or intelligence ones. They realized they were going to get caught, so they did things to get and to keep people blaming other things, others, themselves for what they knew nature would demonstrate was themselves having been criminally foreign influence. And so having been roles of worse, and having been roles blaming other things, others, themselves for the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts of nature. Because nature communicates the difference between positive as criminal insidiousness nature or positive, or one that is true always, not denying the slightest sequence, but not per its questioning, No, not for the, in other words, their uses of the word control, they already painted, they already have themselves painted using words like control, criminally foreign influence. In one of his videos, Judge Napolitano said he had like 400 cases in one day when he first became a trial judge in New Jersey. 400, there's a rap song by Tupac, I don't know, it was a different rapper though, who sung in line said, "I'm from M.W. Jersey, where plenty murders occurred." I fought in Atlantic City, New Jersey one time. And not all parts of New Jersey are nice. There are parts, and where places are not nice. What's not nice about them was employed by the breaching method that designed the suburbs before our founders were born. So, for example, it's nothing personal against the campuses. They're not even real people. See, and the reason, and so UConn has roles with judges and prosecutors and doctors associated with them, and people with prisons, and with people with New Britain's, New Britain Superior Court. But I mean, other campuses like Central Connecticut State University and Trinity College, who have roles, a whole bunch of foreign and domestic medical and military, planting evidences on my street with people from Hartford Hospital, from other areas, who are roles with wire crimes and Wethersfield Police, who have roles on intersocial media with child offenders, including sexual and medical and judicial and police forms at the same time. They have politicians and their family members involved. So make sure you understand this when you hear Judge Napolitano speaking about freedom, about judging, and or about slavery. Slavery is entrenched, and or about reason, because they have tactical delusions that wouldn't be had one person been allowed free speech and mandated law proper. So you have collusions at interbranch locations with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, insidiousness of the logic of people A through Z, the news locations, names next to them, and all conjunctions and adjacents to that, and the difference of that used. Because this breaching method employed syntax styles and natures and sense and sensibility. This is how programming works. It doesn't just sense. It doesn't just remember. It maintains conjunction to the hyperconjunctive, which makes possible evolution with an increasing identity of volume, not as the physical locations of the computer CPU, inside the computer CPU, inside the microchips, but where volume equals value as nature / nature as value. I never read this. Nature shows us how identity works. Computers work with identity. They assign identities of value / value progression. They assign loops. They assign, if this, do that, then do this. Except of this, exceptions. The value of sequence. In other words, at the beginning of the Old Testament, at the beginning of the Quran, there are collusions between the people that counter and hurt those religions and the people that defend those religions, and the exceptions. They have collusions with each other to keep the value of what is said at the beginning of those books from being discerned, because they were employments of the identities of the sciences. Relative. So I don't want to debate anything past the beginning of the Old Testament says all one has to understand is right to hear, because it knew that the people that defended the religions would stay collusions with the overt criminal enterprises, private ones, insidiousness of the logic styles and natures of people A through Z, relative to relativity in the hands of someone, in the syntax of someone speaking for what is constant or variable, or the sciences properly. Beginning of the Old Testament says all we have to understand is the right to hear where the people, names of the people, the sciences will come together, because the sciences share an identity. How? Why? See, we're supposed to be independence, valuing. We're supposed to value simultaneously unity, tactical ulterior from the descriptions of it. Then they want to debate, and the nature of debate forces relied upon criminally foreign influence, quality aspects, and natures of things, like to pretend it's even debatable that our founders did not have free speech. That's not even debatable. There was slavery entrenched sickly, distinctly north and south. They did not have free speech. They were fact, human nature, enslaved. We shouldn't have to call out the delusions and call delusions rot judges. And the difference of them is also employed by the breaching method here, relative to where and to how torture is involved too, with the World Trade Center attack, predicate acts roles. A whole bunch of people on and off Connecticut, Weathersfield, Connecticut community center are increasingly involved with medical offenders associated with Judge Napolitano and other justices and judges and prosecutors, their family members. They're not legitimately caring about money with this, and their roles with the policing of the internet. They have New Britain Superior Court is involved with predicate acts with Fox News, with the Facebook page of Judge Napolitano, with former director of the FBI too, Robert Luskin, involved with the Facebook pages of a principal sex offender named principal child abuser, involved with others with sexual and medical and other natures of abuses of kids between campuses. And it's not just they don't even know about it. It's of a nature where they're putting fake information, fake ties, fake natures of ties, roles of predicate acts with facts that are exploited at other locations. They have overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and conscious uses of the criminal insidiousness of as kids and adults as union families. So there are names like Lombardo and Cololo and Kevin Dillon, a whole bunch of people tied to a Kevin Dillon, Anna Dillon, and people at Hartford Hospital, a Leahy family, with the policing of the hospital and with the military associated with the hospital, as people involved with judges and prosecutors personally with a whole bunch of other countries, with drugs and medicines, crimes, also with overt criminal enterprises, while tactically delusions raw. Also with recorded KKK themed, Confederate flag themed, and black themed child offenders, and their roles with all kinds of things. Then they pretended we had conversations with them in those fake conversations too, and other people. They pretend that people say that other people are bad. So now the places that have been used for mental evaluations through time, their extended family members too, increasingly. They've been roles with the agencies lying to family members about family members. Then they want to make debates and fights between people dishonestly. In other words, they're engaging people in conversations we never have with each other. As the one switching and forging names and planting roles with all sides in criminal and civil cases. So increasingly, the differences between the police forms is exploited, and that's where and how they leak things too. Ray Claw has roles with unions. People with the name Ray Claw have roles with unions, and people with the name Phil Claw and DeMoro have and Fienza have roles with unions near Airport Road, near others with mayors too, and near UPS, near the post office. So please follow mandated law for the intelligence community. Since I was a kid, making people I never tried to even contact. All exceptions too show the same thing too. They're planting evidences. They put connections between people because they're exploiting us as a volume of these are peers or these are this is this all groupings of humanity are used functionally tactical ulterior, defended self-value tactical ulterior from how nature has groupings valued. It is more so why and is more finite why. And it was active reasons why. Math values grouping symbols, but it is hyper additionally why too. It has those reasons, but it is hyper additionally too. The identity that English is revealed to teach about the identity that is greater and let it teach us the identity that is simultaneously greater than and more finite than. The finite grouped and simultaneous parts of English has an active conjunction to it too. That three ways connects with, not as, but while as. Anyway, our own quality of fact, attribute nature. The identity of all space / existence at once. That's only part of its identity present. Okay, so thank you. Vaccines, I teach us things, but long have the Connecticut interbranch. So a whole bunch of people at New Britain Superior Court and Hartford courts have rules planting evidences at West Hartford locations and Rocky Hill locations, with names also that on campuses that have been doing it. And all along Route 3, they've been planting evidence. Like they tell people to time people so I can make a fake exception of knowing me. There's a Kevin Carone, a Mark Carone, and a Jamie Carone. A Jamie Carone is one of the ones on social media who's recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. If he made it up, one of the ones with predicate acts on my street, with the wire crimes with the Wethersfield police, and on social media with Officer Jerry Miller. And he said that on some Facebook, he said that a Jerry Kerr. There were more than one Jerry Kerrs, and there are Michael Kerr. Insurance locations and people with the World Trade Center who had roles with the attack in a whole bunch of different countries has something to do with their roles all along Route 3 and conjunctions to it, like Elm Street and like the state judicial branch offices. But also like Hangdog Lane and Two Rod Highway have people who plant evidences with the interbranch, make fake exceptions of trying to know people and people that we don't know at all that I have roles with predicate acts on my street and online and off the campuses, like a Joshua Julian. He has roles with the police forms, the social intelligence families, with their own kids, because then they get involved with other people with their speaking. Then they have to value all the fake things in the databases to defend. They have to make things up and ignore people. So a whole bunch of people at Hartford Hospital have roles with drugs and medicines crimes on off the state of on off the Connecticut town, the Wethersfield Community Center, and with some different kinds of drugs and medicines kinds, and they have roles with poisons and gun crimes and falsified police reports, wire crimes, identity thefts and frauds, with themselves lying about themselves and others. Ones with the name of O'Brien and Cololo, involved with the Wethersfield police, forging and switching names, predicate acts on all sides of my house. One guy forced himself into my house. Let's get him on paper, one name in sequence. And now, in other words, they're hiding about what came first. So, please, businesses next to the people named Aiello and tomorrow, please get them on paper with the rat mobs tied to them, like former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his co-defendants and their family members, and the judges and prosecutors personally involved with them with wire crimes at locations, and with their narratives and natures in the background with uses of people's names involved, and their doctors, and they have relative delusions. We're going to examine how they got away. I can't believe That I know. I thought more of Judge Napolitano than I hear him say, "Oh, slavery is going to end." Slavery is not over. Slavery is not over. This breaching method designed our suburbs for people to need value nature systems and reliant upon people from other locations. People to be reliant upon criminal insidiousness natures of positive treatments as collusions with the negatives, and where and how it counts where we are fact treatment nature as quality. They're pretending that we have no security. They're taxing us for resources like electricity, to do damage control for poisons, clean up of poisons. We shouldn't have us in the first place. You can make more energy dropping water and save more energy dropping water and better than it takes to lift it. But we don't even have all the fresh water is forever chemicals in it, not by accident. It's because you want to blame it on the name, even if you blame it on someone in the country Q did it. They didn't do it alone. A breaching method is here, has complete possession over the suits and ties counters to them as collusions, exceptions as collusions too. Ugh. They put math before identity and reason. All exception nature do. They use them little punk games. In other words, all charity rolls with it. Too. They have people rely on more. The people that need to rely on charity, there's a problem. In other words, what designed Hartford? What designed the suburbs? Let alone New York City? That only allowed. But again, it is syntactical uses of all narratives by natures by what is unity's value, and what simultaneously what is the value of independence, and to measure and maintain that with entertain what and how New York was built and who was at fault for it, used effectively to keep other things others ourselves blamed in the breaching method, which is a scientific value, increasingly valuable because it shows /s, because it shows it is there's more connected to it than just being a breaching method as a scientific value, as one left out too and replaced. Demonstrably, those crazy laws our founders communicated for us to blame that on a breaching method, to blame that slavery entrenched before they were born on the breaching method that designed the suburbs for roles with this. Suburbs can't feed themselves. All exception nature appeared to be a demonstration of other. Those truths are still being used for insidious lies and or to screen them too, because of the relativity of the Trinity to science. The Trinity before. Hyper additionally, they made it about something else. Then religious, then the religion /s of Jesus Christ had to come and do damage control only. The republic for which we stand, its campuses, they are abridged. And the only increasing value of that is abridged. And we're to see, to discern if that identity is doing good or bad. For example, is with the ground's soil, its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that. The worms aren't even walking into the puddles anymore. Too many years we have taken away. I heard too that I observed that, but I heard that there's a problem in the insect population. So there's, in other words, then you have the nature system of how to cause positive or negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. We keep ignoring it, it's going to keep causing negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. That had more to do with what caused world wars than any name, than any of the sick religions, which are simultaneously great too, but just used sickly, used to keep sense and sensibilities fake. As collusions, well, this is a behavior racketeering method. So you have little grease balls like a Paulzano involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, planting evidences, repeating the name Jill, and then pretending I had conversations with him, planting evidences in databases with men and women who time where people are going to be walking to make fake exceptions. So the first campus I went to in this town had a Ray Reynolds, who's one of the ones involved with houses next to it. One's named Schedule and one's named Tomorrow, and others near them involved with child offenders, leaders on and off the kids, on off the campuses, who are ones that had roles with overt criminal enterprises and private ones. When I was in public school, when I was in grammar school, in middle school, as kids I never had classes with in middle school and grammar school, who were with their intelligence families' roles, and other kids saying fake things about me behind my back and fake things about themselves. They have roles with a whole bunch of people at Central Connecticut State University, before I even knew their names, who already had roles with predicate acts with kids at my campuses, with a former Mayor Gold's daughter, Debbie Gold, and people that were in conversations with her involved with federal evidences crimes, federal rules of evidences crimes, and uses of that even worse. And little boys don't want to tell on little girls. And they have the foreign and domestic telling used to put fake things in databases, because already the interbred, all kinds of medical families involved attaching people to fake uses of drugs and alcohol. At Hartford Hospital too, a whole bunch of people tied to a Dillon family, and people with the name Jerry Miller, people involved with spying on the kids of leaders of kids, and using that to make them self-value roles with abuses of their own kids and other kids. So there was an Erin Murphy, who was the daughter of a Mr. Murphy, who has roles with a Kevin Harris, was reportedly intimately tied to roles with passion crimes after the World Trade Center attack. They affected me and others to request for help at West Hartford locations because of deans and people on and off West Hartford campuses and fire campuses and military have been forcing their people to plant evidences and fake motivations, and further in the furtherance of identity theft frauds roles, as people that did that through time intercities. People from Wethersfield, Connecticut have roles with the intelligence community at West Hartford locations and New Britain locations. Has something to do with their roles with the community center and people on off. These are people on off the news locations like Fox Connecticut News. Has people with the name Domain and Mendez involved with New Britain Superior Court, with child sex offenders, leaders of the kids, medical offenders, including medical and sexual and drugs, medicines, crimes of the kids, tactically delusions raw too, mail crimes, wire crimes. These are Yukon people. These are people, when we have world trade agreements, they have trade agreements with psychiatry, drugs, and medicines and doctors of that who are tactically delusions raw. We're supposed to have reason experts. Reason appreciates 5 identities of order. We have not had them appreciated, even heard about. Nature showed them to me. I read them from nature itself. It's the value of sequence true before the smallest finite detail now. It's the value that has the order of the finite. It is the value of why things are and how things are grouped as difference. No, we have the same colorized, different colorized, same time. Exceptions. It communicates with difference, the identity of space / existence, even though we don't have its whole identity to discern, to observe. Anywhere we have a portion of anything, even made up, its identity's complete identity of relationship to itself and the only increasing value of it come equal with that. Where and how everything is only increasingly valued. And this is where and how we are valued as nature / nature is value. So this is Romulus science. Vaccines, I teach us things belong. Please follow mandated law for Connecticut judges and prosecutors involved with this, with the people with the name Cololo. There's also a Phil Cololo with Whiting Forensics through time involved with these families. And people, Whiting Forensics also has people that confessed and recorded. There are people with the name, there are mayors, family members, other natures of politicians, ones with the name Gold, involved with Whiting Forensics, with predicate acts, with facts, with drugs and medicines crimes, with their patients and criminals before they got caught. They're used remotely, speaking for, they're used remotely, predicate acts with facts. Their natures as criminal and citizen natures are used. A through Z states, countries, locations, areas, and states. It's relative to where and to how. Leaders can be so sick and pretend not to realize, sickly distinctly from the news, that attaches us to fake. WFSB attached me to fake words, fake locations, fake ties to themselves, fake natures of ties to themselves, fake uses of drugs, fake ties to other people that are involved with that. Hartford Hospital has roles with drug dealers and people that are pretending it's only intelligence on and off the Weathersfield Community Center, with the ones with the name Cololo, also on off the state corrections offices, with one's name Lance Cuddy, and people like Daryl Sullivan is involved with child offenders various ways, with judges and prosecutors and former director of the FBI are involved with them, also with people that live near them, that work with Hartford courts. They have roles with planting evidences before and after the World Trade Center. They have an officer, Hunter, too. They said his name is Officer Hunter, who's one of the ones off Central Connecticut State University, involved with various natures of medical corruption, drugs and medicines crimes, with overt criminal enterprise, private ones, the names from my town involved, as the ones along Park Street and the conjunctions to it. So, former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, has a Robert Chevalier as his lawyer. He's one of the ones, also those spots near there are associated with this Officer Hunter. Different instances, he's roles with predicate acts on off Central Connecticut State University in New Britain and on off Hartford, on spots next to Trinity College. The court itself, he has roles with predicate acts after the World Trade Center. It's Burgess and others, and the former director of the FBI and people tied to him. They affected confessions. Judges involved themselves with depositions where he's a defendant and where he was a defendant and a part of a case relative. WFSB also told fabricated lies and fake conversations about legal cases. And they lie about the outcomes of cases because they have roles with various natures of federal criminals and predicate acts methods before they got caught. There are people with Local 230 and other locals, other unions further involved with the ones with the police switching and forging names and uses of the predicate act methods of pretending people say things bad about police rather than focusing on those predicate acts. Like the predicate acts with facts involved with wanting to have a nature debate about if slavery is over or what, or whether there was side, there was north. They've been sick since you guys were kids. You had other communicative than we have means to discern. So get on, follow mandated law for them, please. Get the interbranch Connecticut onto paper with the New York ones too. They should have heard by now. If they didn't, that's evidences too. There are proofs that they're pretending. I wasn't communicating with any of the people in the comments where I blocked someone because they were planting evidences. New Britain Superior Court has roles with Hartford courts and Connecticut District Court planting evidences on social media, where they have roles with criminally foreign influence readings of statutes, also with lawyers of the Weathersfield police chiefs, retired, and people involved with the the other countries involved with them, and get them away from their roles with those other countries, and get their own away from their own, where they speak with people's names. They have mobile gas station and businesses next to it. I never went in that business next to it. I don't know what the name of it is. Right before they were open there, I went in there, and there was a Paul Abted, and there are people on my street at the time who got involved with the intelligence community associated with that corner. They have roles as ones pretending to be overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and with the leaders, the people of the mobile gas station through time, and the sale of that. There are a whole bunch of countries, people from Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, as the ones that were planting fake ties to me, fake natures of ties to me each campus I went to. So get them on paper. So there are more people tied to child offenders that had their kids abused, like Aaron Murphy is one of the people. Rick Faglione and recorded administrator confirmed his roles with people on my street with the intelligence community and Tim O'Brien and Andrew O'Brien and people that had conversations with them through time involved planting evidences, identity theft, fraud, slander, attaching little kids and their families to fake locations, fake ties to other people and themselves, fake nature ties in the back of the rules of wire crime acts and methods to discern this with the Hartford police, the Weathersfield, Rock Hill police families, and the Weathersfield ones involved, and the police forms. There are other police forms, but they have also Newington police families, ones with the name D. Simone, etc. They have ones with this whiting forensics through time involved with various natures of organized crime bodies before they got caught. They have district attorneys, all that narratives. Get them on paper. I'll show you guys how to think. You judges. Judge Napolitano, please follow mandated law. They have remote uses of your Facebook page too, with the Joshua Julian, further involved with the sexual and medical offenders of the kids. KKK, black theme too, and fear God for them and for everyone. Fear. Now, there are more gun threats and poisons involved with these same ones. And there are roles with time repeated uses of the smell from a skunk smell. The people involved with the poison has something to do with Paul Kelly in that corner. There are people that are tied to Paul Kelly also logistically, with adjacents to him and conjunctions to him, like his family and like the Air Force. But also his neighbors are involved with the various, like with digital crimes, with WTNH, with the FBI and the Weathersfield police on the principal child defenders campus, also medical corruption. There's a Leahy family too, involved with more sexual pictures of the kids and other natures of pictures of the kids involved, including with the Facebook police and the police that are off Facebook involved with it, and Twitter involved with it, and Yukon. These are the ones with the name Ray Clow has roles with people involved with psychedelics and with various qualities of drugs and medicines at Hartford Hospital, involved with them with wire and medicines crimes, and they're teachers. They have intelligence families involved with predicate acts with the databases, where they lie about themselves and others and through time and sequence shifts. I never had a class with them in grammar school. I never had. In other words, I have one instance of knowing Ray Clow, one of knowing Joe DeMauro. They're involved with the O'Briens and with Hartford Police, with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and foreign and domestic medical through time. They have something to do with their roles with the military too, with all these nations since before we were all born. There are sick fakes. They're here and there. See suits and ties. See them speak about slavery like it's all get on paper. Pass. Get them on paper. How many times I gotta ask you? Get them on paper.